Almost 200 pilot whales stranded themselves Friday on a New Zealand beach renowned as a death trap for the marine mammals, conservation officials said. At least 24 whales from the pod of 198 that beached themselves at Farewell Spit had died and rescue workers were trying to refloat the survivors, the Department of Conservation, DOC, said. Refloating stranded whales is a difficult and potentially dangerous job. Community group Project Jonah has 140 volunteers in the Golden Bay area who are trained to do this, and we're working alongside them, DOC spokesman Andrew Lamison said. He said if the refloat attempt late Friday failed, then the rescuers would have to wait 24 hours for another high tide before trying again. Farewell Spit Beach, at the northern tip of the South Island, has been the scene of many mass pilot whale strandings over the years. There have been at least 8 in the past decade, including 2 within the space of a week in January last year, although the latest stranding is one of the largest. Pilot whales grow up to 6 meters long and are the most common species of whale in New Zealand waters. Scientists are unclear why they strand themselves in large groups, with some speculating healthy whales beach themselves while trying to help sick or disorientated family members that are stranded. Others believe the topography of certain places like Farewell Spit somehow scrambles the whales' sonar navigation, causing them to beach. Once stranded, the whales are vulnerable to dehydration and sunburn until rescuers can use the high tide to move their massive weight back into deeper water. Once refloated, the whales often simply swim back ashore and have to be euthanized.
Namaste, sentient being, citizen of Gotham. It is Wednesday, June 3rd, 2015. Thanks for stopping by and tuning in. Hope all of you are well. ENE News. Scientists warning of mass die-off along California coast. Seafloor littered with dead fish washing up as far as I could see. Toxins have spread all up and down the West Coast. Experts are very, very unusual, really extraordinary. More happiness to report. KSBW, May 29, 2015. Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Mass die-off could happen if we are beginning and continuing coverage of the algae bloom in Monterey Bay. Scientists say that they're seeing the highest levels of red tide in more than a decade, and they are worried it will have grave impacts on marine life. Of course it will. It spreads all up and down the West Coast. Researchers in Santa Cruz have already recorded a mass die-off of anchovies, and they expect more species could follow.
The thumb-sized crustaceans started washing ashore further up the California coast earlier this year, but turned up this week in San Diego in unusually larger numbers, officials said. They've washed ashore periodically over the years because of any number of natural effects, but research scientist Michael Shane of the Hub's SeaWorld Research Institute in San Diego cited El Niño as the phenomenon that might have pushed the crabs up from their normal habitat far offshore. The result is certain death, and nothing can be done to save the crabs. The crabs start to die because the local waters are much cooler, Shane told ABC News Today. Local animals have begun to eat the crabs, and they have been found in the gut contents of sea lions, fish, and birds. The remaining carcasses will remain on the shore until they decompose or are swept back into the water.
I've never seen them die in piles like this. It means that this place isn't healthy. So it's the reason why I'm not finding any fish. You know, something's out of whack somewhere. There's been no shellfish up here. This used to be a great spot for clams, a winter opening for us. We can come in here and catch hundreds of bushels of steamers a day up here, and there's not one around.
Almost half of the world's population of saiga antelope died this month, and no one is sure why. On May 28th, the United Nations Environment Program confirmed that more than 120,000 of the critically endangered antelopes died throughout central Kazakhstan since mid-May. It's the largest die-off event of the saiga antelope on record. The animals have had a rough go in the past couple decades. Before the 1990s, there were more than 1 million saiga on the planet. By 2003, disease and poaching brought that number down to 21,000. They rebounded a bit since then, but the recent mass die-off is catastrophic for the species. While experts don't know what caused the deaths, they do suspect that a combination of biological and environmental factors played a part, possibly a respiratory illness. Whatever the reason, scientists fear that a species that's been around since the Ice Age might soon disappear for good. For Newsbeat Social, I'm Molly Reel.
Rescuers were forced to abandon their efforts to save 149 dolphins that were stranded on a beach in Japan after working tirelessly all day to help the creatures, as darkness fell on the beach in Hokkaido, around 60 miles northeast of Tokyo. Coast Guards and officials called off the rescue operation after only managing to save 3 of the 149 melon-headed dolphins that had beached. The rest of the animals had either died or were dying, they said. It was becoming dark and too dangerous to continue the rescue work at this beach, where we could not bring heavy equipment, a Hokkaido city official said. Many people volunteered to rescue them, but the dolphins became very weak. Only 3 of them have been successfully returned to the sea, as far as we can confirm, he added. Volunteers from local communities had joined forces with Coast Guards to try and save the dolphins, pouring water on them to stop their skins drying out. They also used slings to carry some back into the water, after they were seen early on Friday morning on the beach writhing in pain. But despite desperate efforts to help the melon-headed whales, some were being pushed back onto the beach by the tide soon after being released. The creatures are usually found deep in the sea but have mysteriously beached about 60 miles northeast of Tokyo. Television footage showed several animals had been badly cut, and many had deep gashes on their skin. Speaking earlier today, a Coast Guard official said they are aware a number of the sea creatures have died. We see 1 or 2 whales washing ashore a year, but this may be the first time we have found over 100 of them on a beach, he added. A Hokkaido city official said they had counted 149 dolphins, revising an earlier figure of 130. 3 had been successfully returned to the sea by the late afternoon, he added.
Long Island officials are testing water samples taken from the Peconic estuary after tens of thousands of dead and dying bunker fish washed ashore over the weekend. Reports came in from all over, including at Indian Island County Park just off Flanders Bay. Environmentalists believe pollution in the water caused lower oxygen levels that killed the fish. It looked like something out of an Alfred Hitchcock movie, with an immeasurable number of fish littering the shores of the East End. I think it's a symptom of a much larger problem with water pollution, said Kevin McAllister, of Defend H2O. We're seeing excessive nitrogen loads coming in from fertilizers, as well as residential septic systems. Just 2 weeks ago, more than 100 diamondback terrapins washed up around the same locations. And environmentalists can't help but think it's all related. I hope people this is a bit of wake-up call, McAllister said. I hope people look beyond this is just a fish kill but understand that this is a bigger regional water pollution issue. The Department of Environmental Conservation is testing the water, and right now, there doesn't appear to be a threat to humans. We're going to be working with the DEC and the Suffolk County Health Department to make sure there's continued testing, legislator Albert Krupski said. People who live in the area say they've seen this type of fish die off before, but never like this. They're concerned what it all means for marine life. This is the first time I've seen it as bad as this, Riverhead resident Gail Wagner said. Never as bad as this. Last time, there were a few. Marine scientists say the decaying bunker could contribute to decreased oxygen levels. If they suffocate him for lack of oxygen, that concerns me, Laurel resident Billy Gant said.
Mexican authorities said on Monday that thousands of fish found dead in a lake in western Mexico did not die of natural causes. The small, finger-sized fish are apparently a type of chub. Over 53 metric tons of rotten fish have been removed so far from Lake Cajaytalan in western Jalisco state. In footage released by the local government, workers wearing masks used shovels, a bulldozer, boat and wheelbarrows to remove the dead fish on Sunday. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the mass death, with samples of the dead fish sent to laboratories for testing.